Hey guys, my name's Nate and I'm the Outdoorsman. In this video, I want to pose a question. Are fire kits flawed as a concept? Now, I know this is kind of controversial because to bushcrafters, survivalists, and a lot of outdoorsmen, a fire kit is kind of the bread and butter of their kit. At least for, well, getting a fire going. Now, in this kit, I've kind of just thrown together because for me, I've personally dismantled a lot of my fire kits. Because to me, they're not worth it to carry. Now, before I get started, I do want to say, fire kits are really good for beginners. They're a really good way of having all your fire starting materials all in one place. So if you're learning how to start fires, you have all the tools you need, all the equipment you need, all in one place, and you know within that pouch you can start a fire. But the more and more you learn, the more and more that pouch can become somewhat of a liability. And I'm not saying because, oh, you should know how to start a fire by rubbing two sticks together. No, because you really should have stuff in your kit to start a fire with. You should at least, in my opinion, have 3 different methods in your kit to start a fire. The thing is, they shouldn't all be in one pouch. So I've kind of went through my fire box. It's just a box in my office that I keep a lot of my fire starting equipment in. Throw together a new survival kit using the Hidden Woodsman Possible pouch, one of my ones that I've replaced one of my other kits. And just to show you kind of a mock-up of one that some people would carry. And this is not, this may be more of a dramatization of one, but it's not unheard of for people to carry ones like this, where you'd have things like a pocket saw, which, I mean, you should carry one of these in your kit anyways, some sort of surefire. In this case, I just have a live fire, a knife, again, not bad to carry around in your kit anyways, generally to make feather sticks, a lighter, again, good to carry in your kit. A nice big ferro rod, again, good to carry in your kit. Some sort of tinder, my personal favorite, jute twine. Sometimes I carry this in my kit. It makes a okay cordage, makes a great tinder that packs down nice and also works as cordage. Again, great to carry in your kit. Sometimes I'll carry some other type of cordage for if they want to practice friction fire. Again, cordage is also great to carry in your kit. Sometimes they'll carry something that they're experimenting with. In this case, I just grabbed a fire piston, just because why not? Or they'll also sometimes carry something else, kind of like a magnification lens. Sometimes a backup ferro rod of a different size. Having 2 ferro rods in your kit spread throughout, again, really great to carry in your kit. Sometimes there'll be a striker. In this case, it's a 4 directions striker. Having a decent striker in your kit is, again, a good thing to have. Sometimes something to make char cloth, and sometimes even having a flint and steel. I love flint and steel. Now, again, all of these things are good or okay to carry in your kit, as I said. But here's the thing, and this is where the fire kit in itself is very flawed. It's all in one place. If you ever look back on my channel, you'd see I used to carry around a leather pouch. It used to either be in my bag or in my pocket, on my hip. And now here's one of my big things. If something happens to that pouch, all your fire making equipment is gonna get wet, or something's gonna happen to all your fire making equipment. Like say if you left it out in the rain by accident, like I did once. This is why you shouldn't always have a couple things to drink when you're camping. Wasn't drunk, just, hanging out with friends during a heavy rainstorm. and just hung my pouch up on a tree while I was doing some work. And then, because it wasn't a flashy color, I think it was one of my green ones. It wasn't a flashy color. I went to bed, just kind of forgot about it, and it just downpoured. And I had a bunch of my fire making materials in it, and I woke up the next morning, we had to start a fire. It was cold, it was raining. I went into my fire starting kit and realized I had a lighter in there, a ferro rod that kind of rusted out. I had some matches in there. I had a bunch of some tinder. I had a bunch of my fire starting equipment that all had soaked and become really hard to use. And because of that, it made it really difficult to, well, start the fire the next morning, because a lot of our stuff, a bunch of us had some of our fire starting equipment soaked. Luckily for me, I generally stash a ferro rod in my belt pouch that I keep my field guide in. So, and I think I also had some matches somewhere else in my kit too. Having that spread out really kind of woke me up to the fact that having a kit like this is kind of flawed in a sense. Keeping all these eggs in one basket. I also had a high carbon steel knife in there. And having that high carbon steel knife in there during that downpour caused it to really rust out, which caused some issues throughout that trip. So you may call me an idiot for leaving my kit out, but here's the thing. I'm human. Humans make mistakes. You're gonna make a mistake. I'm gonna make a mistake. That guy over there that's staring at me is gonna make a mistake. Okay, this isn't really a guy over there making a mistake. I just wanted to point off camera saying that's gonna make a mistake. But that guy sitting next to you, staring at you, laughing, is gonna make a mistake. Well, moral of the story is, everyone is going to make a mistake at some point. And the problem is if that mistake happens with your bag that has all of your fire making equipment in it, then you are in trouble when it comes to, say, during the winter, or if it's a survival situation where you need to start a fire and all of your fire equipment is either at the bottom of a cliff, soaking wet, or accidentally got run over by a car, or still in your car. So what I tend to do, and my biggest suggestion was kind of what I said with the ferro rods, or a couple of things I mentioned, is I take my fire starting equipment and I spread it throughout my kit. Sometimes it's in what I like to call my bushcraft kit, which is a bag similar to this, where I tend to keep a lot of my just maintenance equipment. I'll have a knife in there, a saw, a couple gloves, some rope, and just some stuff like that. And I see that's a similar fallacy in there too, and that it's the same issue. I try and avoid that when I can, but it makes it easier when I'm moving around packs. But those aren't my only tools, and those aren't my only tools in my pack. It makes it easier for me to move it between the kits. But I may have a lighter and a ferro rod in there, but then I'll have a ferro rod in the front of my pocket. I may have a ferro rod if it's a different type of trip. I may have a ferro rod in my pocket. I may also have a lighter somewhere else in my kit, or I may have a flint and steel somewhere in my kit. And you make sure to have those different methods of fire throughout your kit, because different methods of fire have different advantages. Ferro rods are really good with certain types of materials. Lighters are really good with certain types of materials, and also they're really good when you're, when it's warm out and your hands are, you still have dexterity. But when you don't have dexterity, like me, and you have sausage fingers, okay, I don't really have sausage fingers, but sometimes my dexterity during the winter kind of gets really fumbly. Lighters aren't always the best for me, because I just sit there and I'm trying to fumbling, especially in the morning when my fingers aren't that great. So a ferro rod is generally better for me. And flint and steel, it's really good for other types of materials, or really other types of situations. So kind of get that mindset of having different methods. And yeah, there's other fire starting methods. It's just those are the three that I just kind of came off the top of my head. Having those spread out through your kit in different packs, if something happens to one pack, you still can start a fire somewhere. You can still start a fire with something else somewhere else in your kit. Now, you can tell me I'm wrong, and that is completely fine. This is my opinion. This is 100% my opinion that I think fire kits are flawed, and it's why I don't carry one anymore. The other thing is, if your tinder gets wet, then you have an issue. So sometimes I carry tinder in a different pouch, or I'll just carry it somewhere else. That's also why I like carrying the jute twine. I also don't always carry out natural tinder. I like to collect my natural tinder out there. I used to carry out natural tinder, and then I just kind of stopped because I felt like it. I just did. But anyways, I want to hear your opinion. What do you think about fire kits? As I said, I really think they're great for beginners because it gives you a chance to learn and see, and it's kind of like a cool little toolkit that you get to work with when you're beginning. But then as you get better, it becomes less and less important to carry with you. Because you kind of get to know what you need and what you're good at. But that's my opinion. What's yours? Anyways, my name's Nate. I'm the Otter Outdoorsman. You have a good day, or get outside, have some fun. But as always, be safe. See you, everyone.